What is up guys, Andy Forrestine Runner here, and today we're going to be going through my top 5 favourite half marathon workouts. So with the spring racing season just around the corner and winter training well underway, today I thought I'd take the time to give you guys my top 5 favourite half marathon workouts. Now bear in mind, quick disclaimer, obviously I'm not a coach, this is just me, this is just my personal opinion, and I'd love to share it with you and hear what you guys think. And of course, as always, leave in the comments your favourite half marathon tune-up workouts or workouts that you love to do during your half marathon training. Today I'm going to be going through with you my 5 favourite ones. So if you're excited for today's video guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends, subscribe to the channel for weekly running content, and without further ado, let's jump in to number 1. So the first workout I want to talk to you guys about is of course the timed intervals. In particular for me, 3 minutes interval work with 2 minutes jog recovery. Now it's just such a great and versatile session, and for me it's a great base point to start any of my training off on. For me, back maybe 2 or 3 years ago, before I'd run as many half marathons as I had, I started off more around the 1:30 on with 2 minutes off, or 2 minutes on by 2 minutes off. And I've slowly progressed up to the point where I feel comfortable starting the majority of my training blocks at 3 minutes on with 2 minutes recovering. For me, that ends up working around just over 800 meters, maybe 0.51, 0.52 miles if I'm on rolling trails, but if I'm on the flat concrete, I could maybe squeeze out 0.56, 57, 58 miles. So it's a great distance before I get into the longer speed endurance work later in the plan. And the reason I love starting with this so much is because 9 times out of 10 I'm able to do this session quite well. But there have been occasions where I've come out off the back of Christmas, off the back of some time off, and I've had to adapt the session because I don't quite feel up to doing 3 minutes on by 2 minutes off. And that's the beauty of it. You can literally just adapt the session as you're going. I know you can adapt most of them, but if you're looking at your watch and you've got timers going, just hit that lap button a bit early and go, right, okay, do you know what, for the rest of the session we're just going to do 2 minutes on by 2 minutes off. Take the pressure off, still complete a session, but just don't do quite as much as you were doing, and then you can readjust your training going forwards. So that is my first favourite workout. And the second workout I want to talk to you about today, and I'm not going to use the word favourite, I'm going to use the word effective because it's not my favourite session, but it is extremely effective, is of course the 1K repeats. Now for me, it is just a session that I have a love-hate relationship with it. I find it very, very effective, especially in 10K training as well as half marathon training. And for me, again, it's another stepping stone in between those 3 minutes on by 2 minutes off to the longer speed endurance sessions that we're going to get to very shortly. 1K repeats are something that, again, I like to start off by doing 6 or 8 of them in the beginning, and then throughout the training plan, if you're feeling brave, you can get up to 10 or 12 of them. And for me, the 1K repeats kind of sit in the middle of the very weird pace bracket for me. I'm doing the shorter speed intervals, the 2 minutes on, the 3 minutes on, as we've just talked about, and the 1K repeats, I tend to run those in anywhere between 325 up to 340, depending on the terrain, depending on where we're at, if we're on a grass track, if we're on the tarmac, whatever it might be. That tends to be my current fitness level at the moment. And again, that's slightly more than the 3 minutes on by 2 minutes off, but slightly less than some of the workouts that we will cover very shortly. So I find myself in that, do I run still in that intensity of as hard as I can, or do I just dial it back and try and dial it into half marathon pace? And the answer to that question for me always lies in where I am in my training cycle. If I'm towards the end of the training cycle, then I might try and dial in more to half marathon pace, and then I'll shorten the recovery in a goal to keep the heart rate up but to practice half marathon pace. Or do I take a longer recovery in the beginning and go harder and faster, more like 10K or 5K pace, and just see how hard I can do them? So that for me just is such a great effective workout, and that will lead us on nicely to number 3. And number 3 for me really signals the start of the speed endurance work in my brain. I know the other 2 workouts we talked about are very much speed endurance as well, but Number 3 is, of course, mile repeats. I love mile repeats. Probably the second favourite in this list that we are talking about. The favourite is yet to come. And the second favourite, and the reason for that again is because I find them such a great tool to use in so many different scenarios. If you missed last week's video about tuning up for a race, they featured heavily in that in terms of they're a great session for me to do when I'm tuning up for a race. And again, just like with the 1K repeats, I love them because you can be so versatile with the recovery period and the paces that you are running in. So again, just to reiterate, if I'm in the beginning of a training block, I might want to do, say, 4 or 5 of them, but I might want to lengthen the rest and maybe have 3 minutes jogging recovery so that I can hit the mile repeats harder, maybe try and run faster than half marathon pace. Whereas if I'm towards the end of the plan and the work is ramping up, I'm getting into those peak weeks and I might have 6 or 7 of them to do, then I will probably be more likely to dial the pace back slightly, try and run them at half marathon pace, but with that, shorten the recovery so my heart rate doesn't have time to go down, and I'm working more at that half marathon pace. So for example, if I'm doing 6 or 7 by a mile, then I'm doing 6 or 7 miles worth of work at half marathon pace whilst keeping the heart rate up there with that rest in between. So again, such a great and versatile session, and for me, just a great tune-up session. They've got such a great dual purpose there. So that is number 3. Moving on to workout number 4, my favourite in the list, my absolute favourite. And again, if you're an OG subscriber, you will know exactly what I'm about to say because I talk about this workout a lot in tuning up for races in marathon, half marathon training blocks. It is, of course, the 2 mile repeats, the bread and butter of threshold work. It's just such a great distance to run. And for me, I love it. A lot of other people hate it. I'll tell you the reason why I love it. Again, it's just such a great indicator of what I can run a half marathon at, dialing in to 2 miles worth of work, having a rest and going again. If I can maintain that average pace or whatever pace I set out at, then I know I'm good to go within, say, 5 or 10 seconds per mile of that pace on race day, depending on conditions and how I'm actually feeling. So for me, 2 mile repeats just are such a great way of getting out and understanding where you're at. Now, obviously, I would never put these in the beginning of any of my training blocks. These tend to sit towards the middle and end because I'm getting into that more race specific work, and again, as I said, it just gives me a great indication. And for me, the main reason why I love it is because it's a pace that I can just find and settle. We all have workouts that we love, and the reason tends to be because we tend to naturally click into a pace and we seem to just enjoy that workout because it comes naturally to us. And for whatever reason, 3 by 2 miles or 2 by 2 miles or even 4 by 2 miles comes very naturally to me. It's just a workout that I feel like I can click into a comfortably hard effort, into cruise control and go for it. And the last time I did it was 4 by 2 miles and I just got the average pace spot on all the way through, which again just highlighted to me that I feel so comfortable with that workout. And again, we have to be a bit careful. We don't want to sit in our comfort zone, but it's just, again, a great indicator, and working at that level of effort for a long period of time is just such a great way to get our bodies ready for those upcoming races. And the 5th and final workout that I want to talk to you guys about today, one of my favourites, and again, something that is so effective, is of course the tempo run. Now, I did do a video on how to tempo run on the channel a few weeks ago. In fact, it was maybe a couple of months ago now. So you can go and check that out if you want to. And for me, there's a couple of different definitions of the tempo run. I'm going to tell you what my definition is, and then if that's not the same as yours, you can let me know in the comments below. So for me, a tempo run kind of sits slightly below half marathon pace. It's not quite in the middle of half marathon and marathon. It literally is just a notch below half marathon pace. It's a pace that I can go out and run at comfortably hard at a decent effort depending on the time and duration. But I always think to myself, if I'm doing mile repeats at, let's say, 5 minutes and 50 seconds per mile, then I would want to run my tempo runs around 6 minute flat or 6:05, 6:10. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, if I'm getting towards the end of a training plan and I'm doing maybe a longer 40, 50 minute tempo run, which I have done, and I've done a 9 mile tempo run recently in 56 minutes, for me, that tends to be a case of just notching it back so that I don't tire myself out. We have to kind of remember that when we do these sessions, we are also thinking about the rest of our training week, and as much as we want to get the most out of our session, we don't want to tire ourselves out too much. And if I put my tempo run in the same category as my threshold work at that 5:50 per mile, there's no way that I would be able to do any other sessions for at least a good week. So the tempo run for me is kind of comfortably uncomfortable. Again, let me know your interpretation of that in the comments below. And as I said, so versatile in the beginning, starting off at 20 minutes and working our way up through the training plan to 30, 40, 50 minutes. And I've only ever done a 50-minute tempo run or 55-minute. That's the maximum I've done. I've never gone above that. And that for me kind of feels like a bit of a sweet spot and a good race tune-up effort 3 weeks out or so from race day. So those are my top 5 workouts. So that's it from me today, guys. I'd love to hear what your favourite half marathon workouts are. Let me know in the comments below and let me know your thoughts on the workouts that I've listed today. If you enjoyed the video, as always, guys, make sure you give it a like, share it with your friends. Do consider subscribing to the channel for weekly running content. And as always, I will see you on the next one. Until then.